Here are 5 points as to why the Khilafah is coming soon. Firstly, the clarity and awareness of the Ummah has increased, and it's actually increased to such a point that many of the rulers and politicians in the Muslim world today cannot gain popularity, and they cannot win the vote from their people without pretending to be Islamic or without using some kind of Islamic card. We saw this with Imran Khan citing Riyasat Medina and ayat of Quran. We saw this with the Al-Nahda party in Tunisia. We saw it in Egypt with Ikhwan. We continue to see it today where Erdogan is pretending to be an Islamic sultan. Why do the rulers and politicians feel that there's a need to play the Islamic card? Because that is what wins popularity. Even the understanding of what Islamic politics means in the mind of the Ummah has become a lot more clearer. No longer can you have a liberal, democratic, secular system, write over it Islamic, and the Ummah just accept it as that. Number 2, the biggest obstacle in the re-establishment of the Khilafah, mainly the US and the West, are being stretched thin. They are becoming weaker. Wallahi, in front of our very eyes they're becoming weaker. Alongside focusing on the Middle East, the US has got problems in how to deal with China, how to deal with Russia, how to keep Europe under its wing. And alongside that, it's got massive economic problems. Its debt is bigger than its GDP. The US dollar is being rejected at a global level where people want a fairer system of imports and exports where they don't have to rely on US dollars for international transactions. This is why BRICS was set up in the first place. Number 3 is that the tools which the US and the West use to keep the Muslim Ummah pinned down and subordinate are the rulers. And right now in these times, the rulers are on shaky ground. They are scared and they are vulnerable. Ever since Bashar al-Assad fled Syria, this sent a message across the rest of the Muslim world that no matter who the dictator, no matter who the tyrant, after struggle, after perseverance, these people are going to fall. They are going to be removed. They will run away. It got to a point where Sisi came out on national television in Egypt, the pharaoh of his time, saying, look, I might be bad, but I ain't done what he's done. The king of Jordan, he was on a phone call with the US. Look, we need your help. Please maintain and guarantee our safety, our protection. In fact, with what's been going on over the past couple of years in Palestine, the blame of the entire Muslim Ummah has been on these people that they watched and stood silently and in fact aided the criminals against the people who are being occupied. So the validity of these rulers, if there was any to begin with, has completely been lost. Number 4 is that the ideologies which have been opposed not only upon the Muslim world but upon the entire world at large is failing. It's a failed ideology. It's a failed way of life. Economically, it is going through big problems right now. Technologically, other nations like China are far outdoing many Western nations. Socially and morally, the Western liberal nations are bankrupt. From an ethical point of view, they have nothing going for them. In fact, this was seen in front of the world's very eyes when we witnessed a live unaliving of an entire population 24/7 on our phones, on our news, on our tablets, and these so-called ethical and moral nations did absolutely nothing. They stood by and they watched. In fact, they funded and they armed the criminal. And then when their own institutions like the ICC and the ICJ issued arrest warrants for some of the criminals in that part of the world, it was these very Western liberal nations that rejected their own institutions, citing that they had been overtaken, citing that they had been corrupt. The entire world can see what is going on. And so whatever reputation the West had for being the pioneers and protectors of the world order, from a humanitarian point of view, that does not exist anymore. And so bearing all of this in mind, wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is paving the way for the Muslim Ummah, whereby those who have the biggest grip on the Ummah are weakening. The tools that are being used to grip her, i.e. the rulers, have no validity anymore. The understanding of the Ummah in her own Islam, in her own deen, is becoming much clearer. And the Ummah does deem Islam to be her solution. The fact that the Western liberal way of life has just not worked for the Middle East, for the Muslim world, for the rest of the world. This is a huge opportunity which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating, which leads me to point 5, is that the Khilafah is a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم